In this video, I shall be going over how you can effectively PvP as a Cryomancer in Dungeonborne. So, there's a Pyromancer at the other end of that hallway. Obviously, they've got a fireball. I'm low, so I do pop a healing potion. Then I use a Thunderclap flask I picked up earlier on in the game, and then I use my Ice Storm because this is going to slow them. You do want to make sure the center of it is on them. While that's activating, I go into my Ice thing. I cancel it early, so I can get them with the Lightning Staff while they are still slowed, and then I finish them off with the Sword. So they kind of got me low from afar. They pushed me, and then when they pushed me, I used my slowy down Q ability, and then while they were trying to back away from that, I went into ice so they wouldn't like focus trying to kill me with their fireballs. So while they were backing away, almost at the end of the ice storm, I cancelled the ice and came out of it. Even though it cancelled my healing, it's kind of like a surprise to some people as well. And then while they were slowed by the ice storm, I used my lightning staffs on them to do a whole lot of damage really quickly. And then with the sword, I whipped that out. I used the charge attack because that infuses the sword, or it like buffs the sword with like cold magic, and also it's a projectile, so it just does a lot of damage if both the projectile and the sword hit, and then also it buffs the sword, and then they just died. So pretty simple, straightforward fight there. In this next match, I know someone is through this door because I just heard them, so I'm quickly going to try and push them. I use my Ice Storm immediately. You always want to try and put this in the center. Now, they did hit me a little bit, but I used the Ice Storm because I didn't think it would be easy for them to back out of that room, and it wasn't. They just kept attacking the ice block, so I don't think they knew what they were doing. I missed one of my lightning staff hits, but I think sometimes there's a thing where once you come out of the ice block, your camera goes a little bit funny. That's something I've noticed a lot playing as the Cryomancer, so I'm not too sure what that's about, but sometimes that does mess up your aim, so just make sure you don't use the lightning stuff immediately as soon as you come out of the ice storm, because sometimes the camera isn't going to be where you were looking when you were inside of the ice block. But then I hit them with the second one of the staffs, and I am able to just finish them off. Not too sure if they were low or something, but again, that just went very well for me. Just Ice Storm, cancel the ice block early if you need to, so you can hit them with the lightning staffs while they're in the slow. In this next clip, I can hear someone through the store, so I'm kind of waiting to recharge my staffs before I just start pushing them. But they actually push me, which is kind of unexpected, so I use the lightning staff in case they come through the door, but they didn't. So now I'm just charging both of my staffs. You'll note here I've got 2 lightning staffs instead of a staff and then a sword and an orb, which can play very well if you have the ice storm, which I do. So I get hit by something there. He's done a lot of damage already with the swords, and then he tried to hit me with the crossbow. I think he did hit me with the crossbow, actually. And really, the whole thing for the Cryomancer is you just need to get them with your storm. Once you get them with the storm, just mess them up with the lightning, and it's probably just going to be a free kill. Like, if the enemy player doesn't have any mobility to like instantly get out of the ice storm, or if they don't recognize that you're using the ice storm during its first phase, and it enters its second phase, it's going to be really hard for them to do anything. They need to recognize the first phase of the ice storm and then run away from that really quickly. But even that isn't going to do a whole lot, because if they try to come back after the ice storm, you're just going to have another one, because it's only got like 5 seconds of cooldown or something crazy like that. So, I mean, yeah, it's really hard to play against the Cryomancer unless you really know what you're doing. One really important thing you have to be very aware of when you're playing the Cryomancer is spacing. So if you watch this fight, it's going to go pretty much the same as the others. I'm going to use my Ice Storm and then finish them off with the Lightning Staff once they're already slowed. But look at how I'm spacing my character. This is a Death Knight, right? I know if I get grabbed, that's not going to be good, so then I'm just going to use my E ability. But I'm kind of circling around my own Ice Storm so that they try and like push me and finish me off, so that they stay inside it and don't just like hold out a healing potion and run away, because if they do that, I don't have any more zaps of my lightning staff and I've only got a sword. So you should always play around your own ice storm if possible, and if it's, you know, a class that can suddenly get close to you, like a fighter with their dash or the Death Knight with their grab, you want to make sure you don't use your ice block so that you have that if they do catch up to you, because obviously you don't want to be next to them. And then also, you do want to make sure that you don't go too far away from them, because if you do, it's going to be much harder to aim the Ice Storm and the staff, and you don't want them to close a door or something like that. So just always be aware of your spacing as the Cryomancer, because you don't want someone to get too close to you, but you also don't want them to get too far away. And if you watch your spacing, it does mean that you can play more into the lightning staff and the slow effect from the ice storm as well. And of course, as I mentioned in most of my videos rather, getting the jump on someone is always going to be hugely beneficial. This person had just cleared out a little bit of this area. Start off with the ice storm, they're inside of that, use the lightning storm, always put it kind of close to you if you think they're going to push you, so they walk into it more, and put it behind them if you think they're going to go away. So you'll note that I put both of my lightning staffs like slightly in front of them so that it hit them at the start, but also so that when they try to push me, they go towards it and they're still inside the AoE of the lightning staff. I use my lightning strikes, and then I finish them off with the sword. Yeah, Cryomancer is just one of those classes that's like really easy to understand and to play, but I feel like it's quite hard to master. It looks simple. Also, that person did actually miss their grab, but if they did use their grab there, and if they actually hit it, I would have just used my ice storm, and they still would have been inside the AoE of the... I would have used my ice block rather, and they still would have been inside of the AoE of the ice storm. This one I'm putting in because A, it's showing you to use the environment to your advantage, and B, just because I think it's really funny. So this guy is kind of trying to cheese this halberd boss, and I open the door. They're probably really confused right now. I start off with a lightning staff or two, because I do have a searing staff, so I know I don't have to super worry about hitting them with the slow and then using the staff. They use whirlwind. I hop into my ice block. Ice storm is active. That's going to be messing them up. And then they just die. I'm ready to come out of that and finish them off with the staff, but there's no need to really. They do just die. So, you know, it must have really scared them when I opened that door. They saw the halberd mound coming. They probably thought the halberd mound opened the door. So I'm just putting this one in because I thought it was quite funny. But also, spacing in that fight, I kind of backed out the door. You don't want to go too far away from someone. If I went too far away there, they would have closed that door. I would have been stuck in that room with halberd man. That wouldn't have been good. So watch your spacing, ice storm, and then lightning staff, or even pyro staff if you have one of those. I don't think the sword is fantastic. Like, the staffs do also have a melee attack, and that does, like, very okay damage as well. So I really don't think the swords are going to be that good at all. I'd say having two staffs, whether it's like two lightning staffs, two pyro staffs, or one of each, I think that is going to be better in most situations than having a sword and an orb, unless you like the orbs for some reason. Like, the sword slow effect is okay, and the dagger slow effect is okay as well. They're both actually quite useful, especially if you're pairing it with ice storm and all that kind of stuff, or if you're pairing it with lightning staffs. But you can also just use like a thunderclap flask, and then you can be shooting them with a lightning staff, which would do much more damage than a sword or a dagger. So yeah. So I kind of initiated all of the other fights in this video, and this fight I'm not ready for. I'm half health, neither of my staffs are charged, so I instantly drink a healing potion, and I'm just going to run away. My ice is also on cooldown, so things don't look good for me. What you have to do is place the ice storm in between you and your opponent. You have to slow them as much as you possibly can, because you do not want them to catch up to you. And then I think they actually just die from that one lightning staff and that ice storm. So that was a really bad position for me. My staffs weren't charged. I was half HP. I did not have my ice block, and I still won that fight. I think that person must have been low or something, and they just decided to push me for no reason anyway, even if they're low, which isn't going to be the smartest decision. They could have just run away and like healed or something. But that went very well for me. You gotta put the ice storm in between yourself and your opponent if they're too close to you, which they were, because that's gonna slow them. It's gonna allow you the chance to get away, and then if you've got your ice block as well, obviously go into that so you heal and they keep taking damage, and then again use lightning staff. But you can also turn fights around as the Cryomancer. It's going to be very beneficial, especially as a Cryomancer, to like get the jump on someone. But if you don't do that, then the ice storm is very good for kind of just getting out of whatever situation you're in as well. If you put it between you and your opponent, it's going to give you the opportunity to run away, basically, and then maybe turn the fight around. So, as for the passives, I think intelligence is probably going to be quite good. The damage dealt by the first phase of Ice Storm is increased by 50%. You're going to be using Ice Storm a lot. Sometimes you'll use it multiple times in one fight because its cooldown is super duper quick. And intelligence, it's quite high. It's fairly high, but it's not the hardest to get to. So I think that's just like a nice little bonus there. Ice Storm is probably what you're going to be using in like every single fight. You might even use it to take out AI, so that extra 50%, if you can aim the Ice Storm well, is going to be very nice. I don't think Will is going to be fantastic, because I don't think you're generally going to want to use Ice Storm from far away. At least I don't. Maybe some people do that. I don't really do that. Cryotherapy is probably going to be okay as well. It's basically just going to give you extra heals when you go into your ice block, which is going to be nice because by default it doesn't heal a whole lot. Frost Echoes is okay if you're playing in teams. When allies deal unblocked active damage to targets affected by Ice Storm, gain a 50-point shield for 5 seconds. 50-point shield isn't much and 5 seconds isn't that long, but you know, if you've got a very coordinated team and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure you can make this thing worthwhile. Stamina is a little bit high for this perk though, because it's not the best passive. And then also restore 2 soul energy when dealing critical damage is very okay as well. If you're someone that uses like a lot of soul storms or whatever it's called. What's it called? Ice storm. If you're someone that uses a lot of ice storms, that's probably going to be quite good, especially if you're pairing it with a searing staff, because it's really easy to hit critical hits with those. So if you want to use like a lot of ice storms to clear out the AI and the NPCs specifically, then this is probably going to be what you're going to want, because it's just going to give you soul energy back much faster, or death energy, whatever it's called. So yeah, the Cryomancer is definitely the class that's kind of quite easy to play. And it's going to be hard to master. The only class I had trouble playing against when I was recording this video was the Druid, because I think they're the only class that can just like nope out of the Ice Storm entirely. They can just simply turn into Panther form, nope out of the Ice Storm, and then attack you like while Ice Storm is still on cooldown, and there's not going to be a whole lot you can do. Also, Thunderclap Flasks. I don't really use a whole lot of Flasks that much. Flask of Shielding is always going to be good. I should probably be bringing those in more myself. But Thunderclap Flasks, which slow the enemies for 4 seconds, is very good if you're pairing that with more lightning staffs and stuff like that, or even the searing staff. It's still going to make them easier to hit, and it's going to allow you to space yourself out more. So if you're playing the class that slows people down and then hits them while they're slowed, Thunderclap Flask is definitely going to be for you. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Farewell.